Hey everybody, it's your girl Nail. How are you doing today? Welcome to Simply Nail Science Studio. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Let me put my banner up here. There we go. How are you doing this beautiful, beautiful day? I'm doing pretty good. I just came back home from class today, so I am feeling pretty good. My mind is like it's like an overload of information going on in my head right now. So I'm going to have to debrief. Um, I have some tea that my son made for me today. So I am going to drink that. And today is more like I had class this morning. So today it's more this afternoon is going to be self-care, which means I'm going to turn off my grad student mind, and then I'm going to sit back and do some things for Neil today. I love weekend classes. I used to take weekend classes all the time when I was an undergrad because it was easier. I was a working mom, and you're a mom, you're a wife, you have household responsibilities, you have work responsibilities. Weekend classes and evening classes were better for me. And I like weekends, especially Saturday mornings, because when I was an undergrad, Saturday mornings were great because I would have a class at, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And then, I would, you know, um, my husband would be home, of course, in the morning, Saturday mornings, and he would handle, take care of the children and take care of their needs and things like that. And I would just go, get in the minivan and just go to school and just worry about school for uh the next the next few hours, and or I should say the subsequent hours. And I didn't have to really have my mind or keep my mind on how are the kids doing. Before, as an undergrad student, being a single mom, at the time I had one child, and that was difficult because I lived in the city of Detroit, and I had to catch the bus and get the stroller ready, get the diaper bag ready. And the one great thing about Wayne County Community College District in Detroit is that they had daycare um, for students who had children. And my best friend worked at the daycare center, so I could just drop my daughter off, my oldest daughter, Chastity, and I could just leave her there. And I would schedule my classes so that we would get there in the morning, and then we would leave. I would have two classes. Um, and in between those two classes, I would have scheduled for that day. I would go and see what was going, go and take care of things that may have needed to be done with my daughter at the daycare center. But it was like, it felt, for me, it was a relief to be able to leave my daughter at the daycare center when I was in class, and especially because my best friend worked there, so I knew I knew Chastity was going to be fine. Um, and then, as I got married. Chastity's dad and I, decided to marry, and then I started having more children, and pursuing my college education. And it was better before the children came, when I just still only had one child. I would go to class when she was at school. So she, school started at 8 or something like that. My class would start at 9:30 or something in that area. And then I would just hop on. At the time, we lived in they call it Midtown or Mid Center, but we call it the New Center. Over there by that, we lived near the Fisher Theater. not the Fisher Theater, the Fisher Building, and that whole area right there. We lived in that area. We lived on Seward. I lived on Seward twice in Detroit. I lived on Seward in Woodward. As a matter of fact, the second time we lived in that area, we lived directly next door to the building, the building that we lived in previously. So we have, needless to say, we love that area. It was undergoing some changes at the time, and now it's just totally different, totally revamped and everything. But when my daughter was in school and I was continuing my education as an undergrad, I would schedule my classes for when she was in school. So she was in school from, let's say, 8:30 to 3 every day. And so I would schedule 1 or 2 classes twice a week, and that's how I would continue with my goals as my goals in higher education. And that was at Wayne County Community College District. That's where I got that's where I started, Well, when I became serious, I started at Wayne County Community College. Before that, I was a student at Wayne State, and I just, partied the freshman year away. Yes. Parents, try to stay on top of your children. That freshman year, that first year of college, stay on top of your children, because, the freedom that I had, I had my own place, and I should say my own apartment. And it's a lot of discipline when you are, 18 years old and you're in college and you're working, and, you have your own spot, and you have to learn, you have to start, you have to learn how to discipline yourself. You got to get up. You got to get up. You got to get up and get out. You got to get that laundry done. You got to go do a little grocery shopping if you can, save some money. It was a lot of things that, I was learning how to be an adult my freshman year at Wayne State University. And I don't want to say that, that whole year was a big failure, because I really enjoyed doing things for myself. And I really enjoyed the freedom of being able to, just live my life. Just live my life and accept the consequences that came along with it. So that first year of college, the education part is a blur. But, the parties and good times, I remember them, except for the time when I got drunk off of Brass Monkey, but that's a whole nother story. You guys remember the song? Well, maybe you don't. The Beastie Boys had a song called Brass Monkey, and I used to play that cassette like all the time, Beastie Boys. And that was this cassette that had You've Got to Fight for Your Right to Party. Needless to say, I was young. I took all those things literally. And coupled with Janet Jackson's Control album, how I'm like, but when I was 17, I did what people told me, did what my father said, and let my mother mold me. But that was long ago. I'm in control. So, yeah, I took all this stuff literal. So I was in control, but I was undisciplined. And, parents, support your children. And you know what, when it comes to, sending kids off to college, or, that freshman year, what I've learned is that it's important for parents to begin training their children for the eventual flight from the nest very early. Start really disciplining them, teaching them how to do certain things on their own. Begin to let them explore freedoms in your household with guidelines and guardrails to support them. Begin doing that as they live in your home, so that when they eventually move out of your home, it won't be such a I don't know, I don't want to say traumatic experience, but it won't be, oh, excuse me, it won't be such a chaotic experience for them, because when you start teaching them how to operate on their own, teach them the responsibilities that they are going to, or introduce them to the responsibilities that they're going to have outside of um, your home, then when they make that transition to college life, they'll be able to handle it. It won't be something that'll be foreign to them. They won't feel like they're caught out there on a limb and they're just doing everything for themselves for the first time. Because that's kind of how I felt about a lot of things. Because even though that's how I felt. I felt like even though I was responsible enough to get up and, go to school and, get up, get myself dressed, catch the bus, go to school, go to work, all those things. I was doing that at home as well. However, the other side of it, of being an adult, was the part that I had issues with, meaning just being social, hanging out, being with friends, learning that learning different boundaries when it comes to having a social life, and how to balance being a full-time college student and then also working, because I was working full-time. I was going to college in the morning. I was also working. I would have a class in the morning, and I would, two classes in the morning. Then I was working at the university, and then I was also working at another place, and then also having a ferocious social life. It was a lot, stumbling in at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then having to get up in the morning to be at class by 8 was a lot. And some people succeed and some people do not. And I didn't succeed. I didn't succeed. And then, a series of events happened to me. And I think I was a victim of SA. So I'm just going to say it's a lot. So you parents, you have to start teaching your children and training your children and getting your children prepared as soon as they come out the womb, almost, for what life may be like for them outside of the nest, especially if you're preparing them to go off to college or something of that nature. But anyhow, as you can see, I have my hair plaited up. Yes, I do. It's about time, right? So I finally washed and conditioned my hair, which is a great thing. And today I am going, it's still kind of damp, but today I'm going to put in a leave-in conditioner on top of my plaits. And I make my own hair potions and lock potions and gels and stuff. And so this is the conditioner that I'm using. I made it maybe, I don't know, maybe I made it in September, or yeah, I think I made it at the beginning of September because my son wanted some, so I made some more, and this is the last of it. You can also, it's not just a conditioner. You can use it for anything. Put it on your hair after you style it. If your hair feels dry, you could put some on there, because that's what he does. His scalp gets dry, and so he applies it to his scalp because he wears an afro. My daughter uses it. I just make it in batches. So I make about enough for 6 containers. So we each have 2. So I'm almost out of this. So I'm sure that the children are out as well or getting ready to be. So I'm going to sit down and make some more. Um, Not today. I'll probably make some during the week. Yeah, so I got a chance to finally wash my hair, and I'm so happy about that. Plait it up, condition it, all that great stuff. I was able to take my polish off my nails. Yay. That's a great thing. So this afternoon, after I hop off the line with you guys, I will be painting or get ready to do my mani-pedi. And I'm going to just relax. I'm just going to relax and do what I have to do for self-care. Because that's one of the things that, is really emphasized in as far as, going to school for psychology and psychotherapy. The thing is that self-care is very important because if you are not well mentally, then how can you be of assistance to someone else? And that philosophy is doable in almost everything. How can you help someone else if you don't help yourself? How can you take care of someone else efficiently if you yourself, if you're not taking care of you? You cannot be the best, and you cannot give someone else in need the absolute best that you have if you do not practice self-care. So anyhow, today I wanted to talk to you guys about getting ready to vote in November, how to read a ballot, how to do research before you enter the booth, the voting booth, or if you're doing like myself and my daughter, we are doing the mail-in ballot. So how do you prepare for that? What are the steps that you should take? And especially if you are a first time voter, like my daughter, the tiny studio assistant, if this is your first time voting, how do you go about this? You went ahead and you ordered your mail-in ballot and it came in the mail and you saw it and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Or let's say you're getting ready to vote. Here in Florida, early voting starts for us on Monday in all of the counties. And let me just say that each county has a designated spot where you can return your mail-in ballots, and you can go in for early voting or go in for early voting. Let me say that clear because you cannot vote twice. You vote once. You turn in your ballot, by mail, or you can drop it off at a ballot box at a center that is designated for that. Please remember that. Do not just drop your ballots off any place. Make sure that the place that you're dropping your ballot off at is a state or county designated spot. And you can find out those things online in your area, in your locality. But because there were a lot of scams in 2020, if you recall, people were putting drop boxes here, there, everywhere, but those drop boxes were not designated drop boxes or certified drop boxes for ballots. So please make sure you do your homework in that aspect before turning in your ballot. So here in Florida, as I said, early voting starts on Monday. So the things that you're going to need to go into the booth on Monday in Hillsborough County, you're going to need your Florida driver's license. You're going to need a Florida ID card issued by the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. You're going to need ID. So your ID could be a license. It could be a state ID. It could be a U.S. passport. It could be a debit or credit card. It could be a military ID, a student ID, a retirement center ID, a neighborhood association ID, a public assistance ID, a veteran health ID issued by the VA. It could be a concealed weapon license. It can be a government employee ID. All those things. And you're going to need 2 of them to be able to go in to vote. So think about that. Okay, and it has to have your signature. It has to have your signature and a photo with and neither one of those things can be ineligible. Okay, so you got to make sure you have your 2 forms of ID, and it has one of those pieces of ID has to have your signature and a photo. Okay, so another thing is registration for voting to become a voter that ended on October the 7th. So hopefully you didn't miss that that deadline. If you did, well, I feel, I feel sorry that you did, but next time remember that doing your research is very, very important. So let's say you get your ballot. Okay, what do you do next? So I have my ballot, and I went over this with the Tiny Studio assistant the other day of how to go about the process of voting. And it's very important that as a voter that you pay attention and you do your homework before you get to the ballot box or the voting booth, and do your homework as you fill out this ballot form. This is the way it looks here in Florida, in Hillsborough County. This is what the ballot looks like. And of course, the big is president and vice president. And then there are other people besides the Republican nominee and the Democratic nominee. But while we are saying that, of course, the president, that is important, what is also important is your local and state, candidates. That is very important as well. Yes, voting for whoever it is that you want to vote for to sit in the White House, that's great. But remember that changes and policies and all of those great things also start locally, because remember, yes, national politics is great, but what we are also focused on, we should be focused on is how the government, how our local governmental system affects us, because the local government system and policies affects us every single day. Okay, there's not a thing that we do in our everyday life outside of our home or even inside of our home that is not regulated by our local governmental system. So even though voting for president is great, what happens statewide and citywide is also very important. So in this instance, it's going to be for us, it's mostly state and a county elections, but that's still important. It's just as important to me as the president. Now, as the Tiny Studio assistant noted, after she left the president and the vice president box, which is right here, after she left that, she didn't know anyone else. Everyone else here she didn't know, except the state attorney, 13th Judicial Circuit Court. She had already seen some things about one of the candidates that she didn't like and approve of, and she went ahead and did her thing on that. But every place else she was confused about. what to do, how to go about selecting the candidate that would have an impact on her life or that supported the issues that were important to her. And so what I showed her how to do or what to do is I showed her that to go online and I showed her how to Google. Well, she knows how to Google, of course. But what I showed her to do, what to do is go to Google and to Google that candidate's name. And then as she Googled the candidate's name, information pops up, of course. So what you're going to have to do, or what she had to do, what I taught her to do, is to go onto the website, the candidate's website. Hopefully they have one. Go onto their website and start reading what their proposal is and what they want to do if they are elected, or continue to do if they are the incumbent candidate for that position. Find out what they done, how they did it. Were they able to meet some of the benchmarks that they set forth in the previous election? Were they able to meet that benchmark? What who are they affiliated with? And see, that's a big thing as well, because some of these candidates do not, notably tell you who they are affiliated with, who supports them. So that's really important to part of your research, is to find out who are backing these candidates. Who are these candidates associated with or affiliated with? What organizations are they members of? How long have they been a member of that organization? Those are some really important things. And I'm looking over here, but the camera's over there. Those are some important things that you have to look at when you're doing research on the candidate. One of the things that I discovered, and then I was showing the Tiny Studio assistant, is that sometimes the organizations that people are involved with becomes vague. Okay. Sometimes when I say vague, you don't know. So you have to do more research. And as we did more research on some candidates, then we discovered that they were affiliated with organizations that was against Planned Parenthood, or they were against, or they were part of organizations that was against, wanted to restrict libraries and ban books. And so all of those organizations, so all of those, all that's really, really important to research. And researching certain items, researching people and candidates is really, really important, because, and you have to really do some in-depth research. You can't just watch a commercial and see, go by just an ad. You have to do extensive research. And then you make your decision on what, who you want to vote for or select, or who could possibly, what amendment is something that you can get behind. But it's really very important that you do the research first. And especially for judges, supervisor of elections, justices of the Supreme Court. And sometimes, like I said before, those their websites can be very vague, but you have to do the research and find out who and what they are affiliated with, what organizations they are a part of, what cases they decided. All of those things is really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop off of here, because I've already been talking to you guys for about 30 minutes or so. Don't forget to, and I want the rest of the afternoon to be for self-care. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video. Please hit that thumbs up button. That really helps the YouTube gods place my video in a specific place so that other people can watch and become a part of the Tiny Studio as well. If you would like to support the Tiny Studio, please go ahead and do so. I think there's something down in the box there that tells you how you can support me. And if you would like to become a sustainable member of the channel, there will be information for that in the description box. All right, then. This is Neil. I know it's been a brief video, but I got to run up out of here because, child, it is Saturday and I want to, give myself a mani-pedi. I want to watch some Woody Woodpecker and some Super Friends, and I want to hang out with the hubby and do some things. So I will catch you guys later. And do not forget to comment and let me know what you thought about this video, or if you have any thoughts. Remember, early voting here in Florida starts on October 21st. Please go to your local county website to find out where your specific place of voting polling is so that you can do your thing. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.